And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. Give us a minute or so to catch up to the live stream here, and we'll be right back. Here is a musical interlude. All right, let me cut that out. And thanks for tuning in, everybody, to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. smAsho. And we've got possible new Sunspot group forming here. It's down here in the southeastern limb. It's this one right here, this active region here. You can see it in the 304 angstroms ionized helium SDO imagery. And we'll zoom in a little bit here on the southern hemisphere, as it's where all the action's happening. The other action being Sunspot 2850, which has degraded significantly over the past 24. Still does harbor the sort of magnetic fields we would expect from a solar flare producing sunspot. It's still beta class. Again, it still has degraded quite a bit in the past 24 hours. Also, we're going to relax our coronal mass ejection watch. It looks like a lot of the filamentary material has collapsed back onto the sun. And we've got a 94 angstroms SDO video for you here as well. If you want to access this data yourself, folks, just click on data here on the SDO page, click on AIA HMI browse data. And what's cool about these browse data images is you can actually rock the sun back and forth if there's something, some event that you saw. There was a decent sized flare here. I think it was upper B class range. It might have been C class range. We'll get to it in a minute. Remember, folks, never memorize something you can look up. That's an Einstein quote. Okay, Einsteins. All right, Einstein. Thanks for tuning into our channel. Congratulations on realizing it exists and attempting to understand things like heliophysics. We've also got a colorized magnetogram for you here. So there are umbrae right now on this active region here. It'll be named Sunspot 2851 if they persist for 12 hours or more. Sunspot 2850, still beta class. Still more than capable of producing some significant flares as it approaches the southwestern limb. Here's a star chart if you're wondering where stuff is above your head. I like to use in-the-sky.org. We have no affiliation. I just like the site. And if you're up before dawn, you may see Jupiter setting. We're located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Put in your location and make your own star chart if you like. Here's a chart of the solar system if you're wondering where stuff is around the solar system. And let's bring up your chats here as we see a number of chats coming in. And thanks again for leaving comments, everybody. And by the way, thanks smAsho staff for all of your hard work and putting up with, well, namely me. Not to mention all of the interesting software platforms that you've been embroiled with. Thanks for leaving comments. Pull My Finger and Nay B and Robert LaFollette. Is it LaFollette or LaFollette? Also, welcome from Unda. Welcome from Unda, Kimberly Nichols. Cheers. Anyway, that's where stuff is in the solar system now. We'll advance this. There's where things will be in a week. A new moon coming up in a couple days, making everybody's sleep patterns a little bit better, perhaps. The radial flux now at 76 solar flux units. There's the 1-year chart of the radial flux. The black line here is the radial flux. This is reported from Solon.info. Really pretty low levels of solar activity right now, considering the time in the solar cycle. So here's the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. There is a period of minor geomagnetic unrest forecasted here on August 6th, early in the day between 3 and 6 universal time, probably from a coronal hole wind stream. We do have some coronal holes on the sun. And let's take a look at global seismicity, as we saw a number of earthquakes coming in as we did show prep. First, I'd like to thank our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. Thanks to patrons. Please consider assisting us, as our patrons do, if you'd like to see the content continue to exist, be publicly visible and free for all to view. Patreon.com/smAsho. Some big changes coming, by the way. The month of September, we will kick off subscription services on our own website, smAshomash.com. More details on that later. Patrons will see that first as well. Patreon.com/smAshomash, the main source of funding. So let's see, we've had some mid-5 range magnitude earthquakes in the past 24 hours, such as this 5.5 at Papua New Guinea. That's the oldest one on our list from the USGS site, and we'll just scroll up here. Greece also saw a 5.2. Philippines saw a minor deep quake there, a 4.7 magnitude at just over 100 kilometers depth. Iran saw a 4.5. Small earthquake in the center of the U.S. as well. I won't even attempt to find out when that was. So a bit of seismicity here. It looks like the largest quake of the past 24 was actually a 5.8 at Japan. Let's check the location of that. Shout out to all of our Olympic athletes. You might not have felt this one. It was pretty far out in the ocean. I think that might have been the largest of the past 24. Could have felt some minor shaking there at Tokyo. Let's go back to the list. And if we miss anything, just leave us a comment and let us know what we missed. Just scroll. Okay, also a 5.4 at Japan. Similar location there. Looks like an aftershock to me. Vanuatu saw a 5.5. That one came in at 4:05 this morning. Fiji saw a deep quake at 4.8 magnitude, over 530 kilometers estimated depth on that one. Deep quake at Chile, a 4.9 magnitude at 133 kilometers depth. Indonesia saw a deep quake. So quite a few deep quakes here. Also Afghanistan saw a deep quake. That one came in while we did show prep. That 4.9 magnitude shaker was at 10:32 universal time. And 144 kilometers estimated depth. And here's another deep quake coming in, Papua New Guinea. A 4.4 magnitude at 109 kilometers. Next, we'll look at volcanism. I want to know what's erupting. I want to know where not to fly my hang glider. And one of the places not to fly my hang glider is over Shiveluch on the Kamchatka Peninsula. It's exploding and producing a 13,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Suwanosejima in the Ryukyu Islands also exploded. 6,000-foot ash plume there, or flight level 060. Merapi on central Java. Minor volcanic ash emission evident on webcam observations. Dukono exploding. 7,000-foot ash plume over Halmahera. Popocatépetl now back on the list. The central Mexican volcano is producing a 20,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Fuego in Guatemala, volcanic ash not observed. Don't do a square dance around the caldera. That could be unhealthful and unsafe. Sangay, 20,000-foot ash plume from it as it explodes, producing volcanic ash to 20,000 feet over Ecuador. Revenador, 14,500-foot ash plume over it as it explodes. Sabancaya, continuous ash emissions over Peru. And Nevados de Chilean exploding, sporadic emissions producing a 15,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Our reminder, say it. Go ahead, say it. I dare you. I dare you. Do not pole vault the caldera. I don't even care if you're the offspring of Steve Stimpak. Don't pole vault the caldera. It could be unhealthful. Even if you're a track and field star. This public service message brought to you at massive personal risk and expense from smAshomash.com. Don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. Cheers. So here's this minor flare we saw. I thought it was nearly a C-class. It's just a high-level B-class flare. Peak flux happened at 3:30 Universal Time this morning. Those sun-facing instruments on the GOES 16, measuring the X-ray flux. No spikes in the proton flux and no surprises to our channel as we forecast coronal mass ejections. And here's the GOES magnetometer showing low lows and low highs here over the past 24. And there was a minor coronal mass ejection spike right in here. We covered it yesterday. And I think there's a North Pole current sheet headed our way because of the activity in the southern hemisphere. So in any case, here's the top view ecliptic plane field plot. Don't be surprised to see a North Pole current sheet come through here and the Earth to be in it soon, especially if Sunspot 2851 becomes a reality. Here's another view of the same data here. It's based on 51 ground-based magnetometers and magnetometers on stereo A and stereo B at Lagrangian point 5 and 4 respectively. Great three-dimensional view of the polarity of the heliospheric current sheet there. And next, the coronal hole line of sight plot. You can see some South Pole-oriented coronal holes moving into the Earth-facing zone here. Probably what the geomagnetic unrest forecast by NOAA is all about. This graphic also shows you the sun's B field in blue. Next, flare probability. It's gone down a little bit as Sunspot 2850 has degraded, like we said. But there's a new region rising right over here. So far, it's only alpha class, and it's not even in existence long enough to have a name, I don't think. We'll be keeping an eye on them both, and when I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. The KP index, a measurement of global geomagnetism, currently only at 2. Calm conditions there on global geomagnetism. Each bar represents 3 hours for you new viewers. And for you new viewers, congratulations on realizing our channel exists. If you've got ideas for our 2,000 subscriber special, leave us a comment and let us know what you think we ought to do. We are open to ideas. So we've got some missing data on the real-time solar wind here. It's about 4 hours worth, it looks like. Current conditions are solar wind density 12.81 protons per cubic centimeter, solar wind speed 330 kilometers per second. We did see a weird spike here where we saw a quick increase in the solar wind velocity and a decrease in the density. Maybe a little coronal mass ejection spike there or something. But as far as this data, we ain't got none. We ain't got none. So fairly low speed solar wind right now at 329 kilometers per second, slightly elevated solar wind density at 13.22 protons per cubic centimeter. And the geospace magnetosphere movies are not cooperating today. So the dangers of streaming live are you may not be able to show the data. So we usually show this data daily. We're only going to have still images today. And those are very old. Those are from just before 1 o'clock Universal Time. Looks like geospace magnetosphere movies are canceled for the day. We don't have the ground magnetic perturbation. In other words, there's probably some missing data once again. Not exactly sure what that's all about. Once again, congratulations on realizing our channel exists. And let me just check the life of the stream. We are streaming live at the moment. And thanks everybody for leaving comments. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And also don't forget to check our playlists, youtube.com/smashamash/playlists. We'll direct you to this screen. And there's all kinds of content here, including recipes and lifestyle stuff, as well as our science-based videos. smashamash.org presents the Sun series is pretty sweet too. We also do regularly stream live to Twitch. It's a fantastic live streaming platform. We even did it today to remind our Twitch viewers that today's meteorology segment and daily space weather videos are YouTube live stream exclusives. We even uploaded to BitChute to let our BitChute viewers know to watch over here on YouTube. So let's bring up the stars of the show here, our viewers. Today's cosmology segment will be integrated into the daily space weather video, and I'm just going to let your chat scroll here. If there's anything I need to respond to, I will. And it's just not scrolling, so I'll just scroll manually. And thanks, everybody. Did I call it 5150? I should have called it 2850. I don't know how I got 5150. There's cobwebs in the brain. And maybe I'll talk later about why I've got cobwebs in the brain. There's a logical explanation for it. Let's do the cosmology segment. It's integrated into today's daily space weather video. Again, check our playlist, youtube.com/smashamash/playlists. There are over 200 cosmology segments in there. Let's pick a random number in real time. It's number 606. Now, at the Neil Gehrels Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory, you can find all kinds of transient outbursts. Here are the X-ray outputs from the core of the Milky Way galaxy, supermassive radio source Sagittarius A star. And you can see it's actually gone into a slightly more active X-ray state here. It's a very consistent X-ray source, as you can see on the 16-year chart in the upper right. Let's see what number 606 happens to be. And if you're wondering what Sagittarius A star is, it's 705. On the Neil Gehrels Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory. It stands for Burst Alert Telescope, and these are monitoring X-ray transient outputs. This object is low-mass X-ray binary/neutron star XTE J1701-407. And check out the cyclicity. It has a cyclical X-ray output. So perhaps this gives us insight into the physics. And you can see how consistent of an X-ray source that is. One strong transient here, which would be well off the chart on the historic graph there, just happened in the past couple of days. About 3 days ago, it looks like. And if that was on this chart, it would be off the screen way, way, way up there. So one very strong X-ray outburst recently from XTE J1701-407. Let's see if we can get some imagery of it. And bear with me a minute, this stuff has to load, and again, we are streaming live. So let's go to the CDS portal here. Okay. There we go. And we'll go to the CDS portal and see what's going on. See if we can get some imagery of this for you here. So there it is in optical, or there it isn't in optical. Let's see if it shows on the gamma ray survey. And it is indeed quite close to the galactic plane. Does it show up on UV? That's a question. And it's quite dark in UV. Does it show up on the 2-mass in infrared light? And we do see some heat coming out of that area of the low-mass X-ray binary/neutron star. And let's see if it shows up on pan-stars. Pretty limited data on this one here. How about the Finkbeiner hydrogen alpha survey? Anyway, the Finkbeiner is pretty sweet because it shows you hydrogen alpha, and you can see how much hydrogen is in that area around the galactic plane. Anyway, once again, that's today's featured quote random end quote object XTE J1701-407, the low-mass X-ray binary/neutron star. And there's where it's located, in the highly hydrogenated Milky Way galaxy. By the way, don't forget to check out our own website, youtube.com. smAshomash.com. smAshomash.org will relocate you here. You can find our social media there, as well as our contact info, links to our forum, and our sweet merch shop. Today's featured product is the whole shop. We've got new products there as well. If you haven't seen it lately, go have a look. The print quality is ridiculous, and we've got some new stuff on the way to show you. Also, the astronomy picture of the day. We like to cover this regularly. What's NASA covering? Well, You can find it yourself at apod.nasa.gov. And we've got dwarf galaxy Centaurus A, located at a distance about the diameter of the Milky Way galaxy at 165,000 light years. It's got jets. If it were visible to the naked eye, it would be like 12 lunar diameters of the full moon. As you can see there, it's quite close, and it has significant jets. And we actually covered this jet analysis the day that the video came out. It's probably in one of our cosmology segments. In fact, we certainly used this image right here on one of our thumbnails. And if you want to look this up yourself, it's at apod.nasa.gov. The astronomy picture of the day for the 4th. And if you want to see the archive, just click on Discover the Cosmos, that link right there. It'll send you to this page. And that's today's cosmology segment, again, integrated into the daily space weather video. Let's continue on. No charging hazards as we move into the realm of electron flux. And let me move into the realm of checking the life of the stream once again. And keep those comments coming, folks. We will put them up momentarily. Alrighty, everything looks good to me. So again, no charging hazards. Here's the 1-year chart of the electron flux, and we're just in a moderate range. Here's the 3-day chart of the electron flux. And if you're a new viewer, the N's and M's mean noon and midnight local time for the GOES 16. In other words, midnight, it's on the opposite side of the planet from the sun, and at noontime, it's directly in between Earth and sun. Here's the forecast model from NOAA, expecting a little downtick here in the electron flux. And I would tend to agree, as there is a coronal hole wind stream on the way, it looks like. We'll show some imagery in 193 angstroms at the end. Next, we're looking at Van Allen belts. There are the inner ones, which are dominated by protons, by the way. There are the outer ones, which have a higher electron content to them. And we're looking at the total electron content forecast here. This will give you an idea of GPS errors. We saw massive anomalies on this one yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's daily space weather video, check it out. There's a playlist for it. I won't give the URL again, but you can find all of our playlists on the home page on YouTube. And if you're viewing any place besides YouTube, obviously you're not viewing this video. It's a YouTube exclusive. But if you're viewing the content anyplace else, you're missing like 80% of the videos. Electron flux a lot more normal today than it was yesterday, as these high-density electron regions tend to congregate around the equator at noon. So a much more coherent electron flux today, no major anomalies. Next, we're going to look at the ionosphere layer. Here's a diagram of the atmosphere. Feel free to pause the video to take this in. And we have to press reload here. Give it a minute. We're going to show you the ionosphere in megahertz and then the 30-day anomaly in terms of megahertz. And we see some pretty significant anomalies here once again. So anomalies here in the over the southern Atlantic Ocean. As well as some west of the South Atlantic anomaly, which is maybe should be renamed as the South American anomaly since it's now over the continent. It's actually someplace like here. And the South African anomaly is someplace like here. It's a little smaller weak spot in the magnetosphere. Anyway, here's the latest image. That is from 11:30 Universal Time. Things looking a little more normal at that moment. So here's the anomaly data. And you're looking at +3 to -3 anomalous ionosphere vibration. This is all in vibrational frequency, folks, megahertz, millions of vibrations per second. There's a lot of stuff going on above your head. And we actually see anomalies here east of the South Atlantic anomaly, where we see lower vibrational frequency there, and then higher vibrational frequency west of the South Atlantic anomaly, perhaps giving us some insight into the structure underground of the Earth and the components that make up Earth's geomagnetic dynamo. Here's the latest image from 11:30. And it actually draws in the anomalies for it. And you can see, as I said, the current moment is not all that anomalous. We did a meteorology segment today, if you weren't aware. We regularly do meteorology segments. It's yet another playlist. And I won't tell you anything about it, because what would be your incentive to tune in if I told you what we did on the meteorology segment? Here's a teaser. Are you teased? Next, bonus features. We're going to look at some 41-minute-old data from El Teide, Spain, in terms of Hydrogen Alpha, the ground-based National Sunspot Observatory in El Teide, Spain. We've got a very limited amount of data on that. Some major filaments still around this area, as you can see. And we'll be making another video later today, by the way. We'll be making a live stream. It is Wednesday, so at 2 p.m. we'll go live once again to talk about news, politics, or whatever you want. Anyway, there's the latest from El Teide, Spain. Here's the GOES 16 SUVI imagery. And it's showing a lot of filaments here in the northern hemisphere. I'm not so sure that these are all legit. But that's what the imagery shows. You can see some X-ray being emitted there, that little pink dot. That's some flaring activity from possible new sunspot 2851. A little bit of activity from 2850 as well. Here's the high-resolution intensitygram. You can see that is still a beta-class sunspot. It could still produce significant solar flares. It could still produce coronal mass ejections. We're going to leave the coronal mass ejection watch in place. And here's possible sunspot 2851. It's actually gained complexity since we did show prep. It's growing some trailing umbrae there. So this thing could burst onto the scene as a beta-class sunspot. You probably heard it here first. We didn't butt in line, folks. We didn't butt in line. We were asked to report to the front of the line. So there's 2850, and there's the magnetic fields associated with it. Here's possible 2851. And there are the magnetic fields with it. This is a beta-class sunspot already, so this has grown in complexity just in the time we made the video. Coronal mass ejection watch is on. So we're gonna show two different images, two different little movies here. First, the 193 angstroms to show you coronal holes. And just give that a minute to load. You can see these coronal holes in the southern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere of the sun right now is where most of the activity is going on. There are also North Pole-oriented coronal holes, so there's the source of the geomagnetic unrest forecasted by NOAA. It's a high-speed wind stream from that coronal hole. So we can expect two wind streams. This one's North Pole-oriented, by the way, and this one's South Pole-oriented, as the solar polar field reversal cycle is taking its good old time. And before we close things out, we'll put your chats back up on the screen here while we display one more set of images. It's the 171 angstroms and colorized magnetogram. It's a house favorite. I think it's smAsh staff's favorite. Once again, shout out to smAsh staff for all your hard work. And try to give smAsh staff a raise. Why don't you give smAsh staff a raise, folks? Head to our links below the video, pick up some merch, become a patron, something like that. And we'll display your comments here one more time. Will it scroll smoothly? Apparently not. I'll just scroll manually once again. And thanks for leaving comments, Bibes. And by the way, shout out to our latest moderator, Bibes. For thanking patrons, you got a wrench. It's our latest wrench recipient. Don't abuse your power. We don't mute anybody or censor anybody's comments in any way. We allow people to make fools of themselves. Keep in mind, we may berate you. 5150 is a California code for mentally ill. Yes, okay. There's a lot of mental illness on YouTube, wouldn't you agree? And I don't know how Techno Hippie doesn't have a wrench yet. Now Techno Hippie does have a wrench. Cheers. All right, so let's close out the video. We're going to actually zoom in on the southern hemisphere once again here. And thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Again, don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Tell your friends and foes about the videos. We don't think the algorithms are recommending our content. It's a theory, and it's pretty sound. And may that solar wind be at your back. Daily Space Weather, a recurring feature of the Smash News Network. Least busted, name in news.